Welcome in to the playoff edition of the Fearless Football Forecast, powered by Greenville Utilities on Pirate Radio 1250 and 930, online at reflector.com. I am Clip Brock. Jordan Anders is here once again. Hey, Jordan.
Sir. Good to see you.
And Ronnie Woodward only shows up for the big games. Hey, Ronnie.
Yeah, man. Bring on the playoffs, and here I am.
Playoffs come around and Ronnie shows up.
Good year for Pitt County High School football, guys. 4 out of the 6 teams making it to postseason. D.H. Conley, a top seed. J.H. Rose will be at home. Farmville Central, Aiden Grifton on the road. Let's start with the Aiden Grifton Chargers. And Jordan, they had an opportunity to get a share of the conference title if they pulled the upset against Kinston. That did not happen.
Right.
And now they find themselves on the road for the first round of the playoffs at Eatonton Holmes.
They did, and it was a lot the same. That performance was very similar to when they played Green Central, their other conference loss. That they played well, made some plays that kind of kept them in the game, and just seemed like if they could have gotten over the hump, that maybe they'd have been able to pull the upset. But again, another kickoff return given up for a touchdown, had a couple of penalties that derailed some drives and kind of set them behind. So yeah, that puts them on the road for the first week, and it's going to be an interesting matchup because this is the third year in a row that they've seen Holmes in the playoffs. The last 2 years it's been in the second round, but they've split those two matchups, and Paul Cornwell said, Edenton's they've got a new head coach this year, so a little bit different look, but there's some similarities there for Aiden Grifton. I think it's just going to be about, I've mentioned the depth a couple times this year, and Paul Cornwell said that was kind of what cost them last week. So it'll be interesting to see if they can come out and play. I mean, like I said, when they've been on, they've been really good. It's just been the little mistakes and the depth has kind of bitten them. But being on the road here against a team they're pretty familiar with, I'm going to go with the Chargers here because I think that they're pretty motivated after having a subpar regular season by their standards. So I think they'll at least get out of the first week.
Ronnie, Farmville Central at Southwest Edgecombe. If Farmville Central's healthy, they've shown what they can do this year, put up a lot of points. The problem is they've not been healthy, and they've also made quite a few mistakes during the 2015 season. They're on the road at a good Southwest Edgecombe team. What do you see happening in this one?
Yeah, Farmville probably has its work cut out more than any other Pitt County team. We just talked about a really close game with Aiden Grifton, or a really close matchup probably. But you mentioned, I mean, who knows? Like if the Jaguars team that is healthy, that's explosive, that can score a bunch of points like they did last week, against those North Pitt obviously, but a little different test this week with Southwest Edgecombe. But they got to travel on the road. They have to play really, really well. Jordan had in his story this week that Coach Gardner said, he felt pretty confident, that they could go play well, but I mean, he wasn't hiding the fact that they're gonna have to go and win the turnover battle, not make the mistakes, do those kind of things that you need to kind of pull an upset. So definitely the underdog, the Jaguars the underdog. I think, I like that team. I just think it's been a rough year for them. They had a lot to replace from last year's team. They've hit the injury bug a little bit. So I'll take Southwest Edgecombe. I think they're just a better team. They're at home. If the playoffs, it makes sense that they would advance.
Farmville Central, a dangerous team, obviously Jordan, but Southwest Edgecombe probably the better team in this matchup.
Yeah, I saw this matchup in the regular season, and I'm actually gonna take the Jags here in an upset because in the first half of that game at Farmville Central a couple weeks ago, they dominated the line. Kashawn Baker just cut through Southwest Edgecombe basically at will. And then he kind of ran out of steam in the second half, started cramping up because they were having to lean on him so much. I think if they can go down there and find somebody else, they've got some talent in T.J. Willoughby and Deron Walston behind him. If some of those guys in the running game and Shaft Parker can make some plays offensively to kind of spell Baker a little bit and keep him fresh, I think they can put that together for 4 quarters because it was really when he started running out of gas that the mistakes started piling up on one another, and I think if they can start fast and keep that momentum the whole way through, I think they're definitely capable of pulling the upset there. So I actually am gonna take the Jags here.
This is the Fearless Football Forecast, and Jordan is fearless. Powered by Greenville Utilities. Jordan, Overhills at Rose, the Rose offense, doing what they do last week against New Bern. Can they continue that here in the playoffs?
I mean, there's no reason. They haven't shown a reason, and Overhills, what they've done this season doesn't give any reason to believe that Rose won't be able to keep piling up points. I mean, we beat it to death every single week, but they are just so good and so explosive in so many different areas. I think that's the thing that we've touched on before. People tend to forget that it's not just Cornell Powell. Like they've got Mydrion Vines, they've got E.J. Harris, they've got a bunch of other guys who can make plays, and I think I don't know that it'll be a blowout, but I think they'll probably win by a couple scores pretty handily.
Ronnie, you'll be there. Get an
I will.
opportunity to see this game live. You think you'll see some fireworks Friday night?
I would think so. I hadn't seen Rose play this year. Kind of excited to see them. Obviously, I've read a lot in the offense. I mean, it's one of those things that, no disrespect to Conley, but when I looked at the bracket, I think Rose might be I'm trying to think of the way to phrase this, but the toughest out on in the East. I mean, just because of what we just mentioned. I mean, you start with Cornell. You have the best player probably in the bracket. I mean, one of the best players in the state. I saw last year, it was either the first or second round last year in the playoffs. I think New Hanover maybe, where he scored 6 or 7 touchdowns in that one game, got a pick 6 to seal it. When they decided to put him on defense, he immediately gets an interception and takes it to the house. I mean, when you have a dynamic player that's that good, and Jordan, like Jordan mentioned, offense around him that can score, I just think they're going to be tough to beat. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen this first round. It might not happen until the second, third, fourth. I mean, I think really this team is really dangerous at I think the 5th seed. They're going to be tough to beat. It might be Conley and Rose in the third round, which would be a heck of a game. But I think Rose does its thing this week. I think they score a bunch of points and move on.
Finally, guys, D.H. Conley hosting New Bern, and Ronnie, we'll start with you. What did you think about the matchup when you first saw it, and what happens here in the rematch? Conley took care of the Bears the first time.
Yeah, I mean, it's, first thought is, I know New Bern obviously is struggling. They gave up 1 million points to Rose last week. Conley handled them relatively easy in the regular season, but there's part of me that thinks, I like to call it like Under Armour mode of, they're still New Bern.
Right.
It's like, they're a 16 seed. I guarantee D.H. Conley did not want to see New Bern,
Sure.
as a 16 seed. A little bit of like, protect this house mode, as I said. Like, we're New Bern. Let's forget the regular season. We're still the defending state champion. You got to go through us to get. And again, it might not matter. I mean, that's all mental. It's all psychological.
Yeah, more the psychological side of it.
Yeah, I mean, the talent, Conley is better, which is crazy to say, but Conley is clearly a better team. But like I said, I'll take Conley. I think Conley wins. They're the 1 seed. They're at home, but I think it's a sneaky opponent if New Bern puts it together and gets, like I said, gets feisty and says, hey, we don't, we're going to remember we're New Bern and we want to show up and play really good for one night. It's possible. I think it's a tough first round game.
Interesting to see New Bern and Aiden Grifton, those, teams that are always home in the first round on the road this week.
Yeah.
On that flip note, I was going to say the opposite of my little rant there was New Bern's players might be ready to, pack it in at this point too. I mean, you never know. They might ready for this season to be over and, hey, we kind of bow out of this thing pretty easily. So who knows? It's an interesting game either way.
Jordan Anders, Ronnie Woodward here on the Fearless Football Forecast, powered by Greenville Utilities on Pirate Radio 1250 and 930 online at reflector.com. Guys, we'll be reading your work on the pages of the Daily Reflector this weekend, and hopefully all these teams will win, and we'll do it all over again next week.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good.